Hello, Namaskar, Vanakkam. My name is Sudhir Sahasranaman and you're watching CBSE with Sudhir. Let's get started with this 40 marks test paper that I have prepared on this particular chapter, Journey to the End of the Earth, written by Tishani Doshi. This is part of your Vistas supplementary reader. I think this is the third or the fourth chapter. This is the third chapter. If you want to understand the explanation in English, please listen to the video. It has been done word by word, line by line in great detail so that you have a thorough understanding and not just a summary, which many of the other channels put out in Hindi. But if you want to listen to it in Hindi, you are free to do so on other channels. Now, the 40 marks test paper has been divided into three sections. The first one is the MCQs, which includes both extract-based and non-extract-based MCQs. Then there are the 2-mark questions, and then there are the 3-mark questions, which can sometimes come also as a 4-mark questions. This would include some of the opinion-based questions also. Please look at the test papers that I've done for the other chapters so that you have a very 100% kind of preparation as far as Flamingo and Vistas are concerned. Let's get started. The first one, wonder at its immensity, its isolation, but mainly at how there could ever have been a time when India and Antarctica were part of the same landmass. This line, written by Tishani Doshi, most strongly reflects the author's what, right? So actually there should be a dash here. Does it reflect the emotional response to the harsh climate of Antarctica? Does it reflect the scientific curiosity about plate tectonics and geological history? Does it reflect the sense of national pride linked to India's past? Not really. Fear of being isolated in an unfamiliar environment. What does it really indicate? This particular paragraph line written by Tishani Doshi. The correct answer is B, the scientific curiosity about the plate tectonics and the geological history of the entire region. If I have to tell you in brief, the focus on India and Antarctica being once a single landmass highlights geological curiosity and the concept of continental drift that they actually came apart. What I'm going to do as part of this test paper is that your revision also should get done so that your concepts, if you have any doubts, those will also get cleared as part of this entire video. The second one, the same quote, I have written a different question. The word mainly, because these kind of very specific micro questions can also come. I've looked at all the question papers of the past and decided that these are the kind of questions that could now come with almost 50% competency based questions. So the word mainly that is out here, right? What does it indicate? Does it indicate the emotional response to intellectual curiosity? Does it reflect physical vastness to political history? Does it reflect isolation to personal nostalgia? Or does it kind of shift the focus of the author's wonder from visual beauty to fear of loneliness? What do you think? Always in MCQs, use the elimination method and decide that, okay, out of these four, this is not going to be an option, because trust me, at least two, sometimes even three options can be really close to each other, and that could lead to confusion. Here, the correct option is the first option, option A. The author is moving from a sensory sense of awe, when she sees what is there in front of her, to scientific and historical reflection on continental drift. The next extract. It's like walking into a giant ping pong ball devoid of human markers, no trees, billboards, or buildings. This comparison, what does it really highlight and emphasize? It emphasizes Antarctica's playful appearance? Not really. Human vulnerability in extreme climates, the erasure of human dominance and identity, and the monotony of the landscape. The correct option, I think this one would be easy, is C, because the absence of human markers highlights how Antarctica resists any kind of human imprint. Though there are stations established by various countries, including India, you do not have the kind of buildings, etc., the human markers that you would find in any other cities and towns. You lose all earthly sense of perspective and time here. The loss of perspective and time suggests that Antarctica disorients travelers physically. It seems to be a legitimate option, forces humans to rethink their place in history, causes psychological confusion, is inaccessible to scientific study. So D is ruled out, right? So it has to be A, B. C also could be an option, but you need to kind of think very deeply, read the line again, and then come to a conclusion that this seems the loss of perspective and time. What does it really mean? Is it A, B, or C is the option that we are talking about? The correct option is option B, because the environment compels the human beings to view themselves within a very large, vast geological timescale. Human civilizations have been around for a paltry 12,000 years, only 12,000 years, barely a few seconds on the geological clock. By using the phrase geological clock, the author Tishani Doshi intends to criticize modern technology? No. Highlight the speed of natural disasters? Not really. Minimize human significance in Earth's history and emphasize scientific precision? The correct option here would be option C, because the metaphor which has been used, one of the, in fact, that's another one, I don't know whether I've used it. Lots of metaphors in this particular chapter. The metaphor reduces human existence to insignificance when measured against Earth's age. In the parable of the phytoplankton, there is a great metaphor for existence. Take care of the small things and the big things will fall into place. This is one of the most important lines in the chapter also. So please understand it. Refer to the video. Also, ensure that you know your points to write in the examination if you get a question about this particular phrase. In the context of the chapter, this statement implies that minor species have great survival ability. Environmental balance depends on seemingly insignificant elements. Humans must focus only on immediate problems. Marine life is more important than land life. The correct option is option B. The phytoplankton symbolizes how small ecological disruptions can destabilize the entire planet. Now let's move to some of the non-extract MCQs, because you could get both. You could get the extract based, you could get the non-extract based. So I thought, let me include both so that you are well prepared for it either way. Okay. One minute. Okay. The author's reference to crossing 9 time zones, six checkpoints, 3 bodies of water, and many ecospheres primarily serves to do what? Emphasize the discomfort of long distance travel, highlight the physical remoteness of Antarctica, illustrate the gradual shift from human to natural dominance, establish the scientific complexity of the journey. Now, if you realize, all 4 can actually work for you, right? But when we are looking at this one, the author's reference to crossing 9 time zones, 6 checkpoints, 3 bodies of water, and many ecospheres, right? B also could actually work. But here in this particular case, it is actually talking about, a world which is controlled by human beings to a world which is controlled entire by Mother Nature, right? So in my opinion, as I said, B also could work, because when you're talking about time zones, 6 checkpoints, 3 bodies of water, and many ecospheres, in my opinion, C could work and B also could work. So this is the thing, which is why I said you need to be very, very careful when you are using it. This works as well as this also works. So this kind of MCQ where 2 can also work may also come in your examination. So you need to be very, very careful. This is a bit of a 50-50 like in KBC. Okay. The journey symbolically moves from human controlled spaces to untouched natural ecosystems. This is what I believe. But when I'm seeing it now, I think B also can work. When I was preparing it, I thought C was the more obvious choice. Which literary device I just now spoke about is most prevalent in the Why? What is this? Why have I written the poem in the chapter or in the essay? Okay. Metaphor is the right one. Metaphor conveys the Arctic's extremity and its psychological impact. Why does the author describe Antarctica as pristine yet central to climate change debate? Where does the word pristine comes? I think it comes on the third page, left hand side bottom. If you read it multiple times, you will remember these kind of things very clearly. It has extreme weather conditions. Uh, it has no permanent human settlements. It stores critical climate data despite minimal human interference, and it contains abundant natural resources, right? Its untouched ice preserves records essential for understanding climate patterns. The example of phytoplankton reinforces which broader idea in the chapter? Marine life is more adaptable than land life. Climate change affects only polar regions. Small ecological changes can trigger large scale consequences. And photosynthesis is the most important biological process. So, as I said, all four can actually work, but you need to be very clear which is it, what it is working for. It is C. The tiny organisms sustain entire ecosystems, symbolizing environmental interdependence. The discussion of Gondwana is significant, and this is a very important aspect of this particular chapter because it helps the author to explain why Antarctica is uninhabitable today, that is, no one can live there, connect continental drift with modern political boundaries, place human history within a much larger geological narrative, and prove that climate change is a natural phenomenon. So here also, if you see, B and C are very, very close, right? They are very, very close. The discussion of gonna A and B, D, you can rule out. Between B and C, you will need to think about it, which is why I said thoroughness is very important. So I would reckon that option C is the best one. Gondwana highlights how recent and small human history is compared to the geological past of the Earth. The final reflection on teenagers having the idealism to save the world conveys the author's attitude as naively optimistic, cautiously hopeful, deeply skeptical, and entirely pessimistic. This one is pretty easy. It is cautiously hopeful. The author's concern for humanity's future arises mainly from the unpredictability of natural disasters, the scientific debates about climate change, the contrast between geological time and rapid human damage, and the isolation which is experienced in Antarctica. The correct option would be option C, because human impact is dangerously fast when compared to the Earth's slow natural processes. The Students on Ice program is presented as effective because it focuses on advanced scientific research. It targets people with political authority, right? Think about it. Uses direct experience, right, to build environmental responsibility and promotes adventure tourism. D can be ruled out. A also can be ruled out. Between B and C, I think C is a better option because they get first-hand exposure, and that makes their awareness about environmental threats much more compelling kind of learning. Let's now move to the 2-mark questions. Now, why does Tishani Doshi call Antarctica the end of the earth in the title? Now, this is an important question. Okay, the 2-mark questions, which will largely be for 40 to 50 marks. And while I'm here, I want to recommend some books to you because at this stage, you need to be very, very thorough with the kind of preparation. This is not the time to do tukkebazi. So I will give you 2-3 options. It's up to you what you want to learn. Now, what if you are, for example, a science student? Now, this is for, let me tell you first for English, right? This book, I found it pretty good. It has a lot of MCQs and questions, answers. So if you are thorough with understanding the chapters, this book will be pretty good. And it also contains some of the solved papers. For example, the 2025 paper, this is the latest book. And then you have all the chapters starting from the last lesson to all the poems and all the Vistas stories also. And in the solved papers, you will be able to get the grammar, the writing skills part also. So this is one book, very logically priced at 199, so not very expensive. If you go to oswaldbooks.com, you can use my coupon code, my author coupon code, because I have written 3 books for them. So I get an author coupon code, Sudhir 10 for additional discount. You can use this. Otherwise, the link for Amazon is listed in the description box. This is book number 1. This book, another useful book, is for class 12 for the 2026 examination for English core, maths, physics, chemistry, and biology. It has 20 combined sample question papers. So again, a very useful resource. So you could look at this if you also want for PCM, right? Similarly for PCB and commerce also would be there. Now, for science student, if you do not want English and you want only for science, then you have the physics, chemistry, and biology. Similarly, PCM. Similarly, you have for humanities and commerce also. These are the competency-based questions. This one is for accountancy, business studies, economic, and mathematics. Very comprehensive, competency-based, because this will essentially prepare you for the question papers that you will get in 2026. So please invest in at least 1 or 2 of these books so that you are well prepared. You should not leave anything to chance. Okay. Now, why does Tishani Doshi? This is apart from whatever I'm giving to you free of cost here on the YouTube channel. Tishani Doshi calls Antarctica the end of the earth. She calls it the end of the earth. The end of the earth because it is the southernmost continent in the world with no more continents or landmass after it. So it is a very literal kind of a thing. If you get a 3-mark question where you need to write a little more, you can also talk a bit about the nature that, it is a place which is really very different from the rest of the globe. How does Tishani Doshi's journey to Antarctica help her understand the link between Earth's geological past and the present environmental crisis? Now, in Antarctica, the author realizes that continents were once united and that natural changes occur over millions of years. Comparing this with rapid human-caused climate change helps her understand how dangerously close humans are to disturb Earth's long-term geological balance. So these kind of phrases you need to use in this particular chapter for sure, right? You cannot write very ordinary language. The language has to be formal because this is an essay. This is like a proper formal essay. This is not like a story with imaginary characters. This is a real essay. So your language also has to be extremely formal, okay? Which is why I'm showing you these answers so that it becomes useful for you to understand how to frame and write your answers. Antarctica is unlike any other place on Earth. Explain. Now it is cold and desolate. So here it's a 2-mark question. So you need to give a lot of factual details. What are the factual details? It is cold. It is desolate. There is no human habitation there. It does not have any human markers like buildings, billboards, trees, etc. It is silent except for the occasional sound of the cracking of ice due to global warming. So you're given 4 points. Very good for a 2-mark question. Why does the author say that in Antarctica one loses all earthly sense of perspective and time? Because the vast, silent, and uninhabited. Because these words are very important. You need to use these words in your answers. Landscape of Antarctica lacks familiar human markers. This makes the author feel disconnected from daily human routines and forces her to view herself within the immense scale of geological time rather than ordinary human time. You understand how I'm linking the question to the way I've used the phrases in the answers. What message does the author convey through the example of phytoplankton in the chapter towards the end of the chapter? Through phytoplankton, the author highlights that small organisms play a crucial role in maintaining ecological balance. Point number 1, damage to such tiny elements can disrupt the entire food chain, teaching that caring for the small environmental factors are essential for planetary survival. This is again an important phrase that you can use in your answers. Why is Antarctica the place to go to in order to understand the Earth's past, present, and future? This, I would say, is an important question. Okay, both from your pre-boards and your board exams point of view. Now, Antarctica is the only place on Earth that has not supported the human population. Hence, it remains as pure as it was millions of years ago. It is the record keeper of the Earth's past, holding 500,000 years old carbon records beneath its layers of ice. Therefore, it is the place to go to understand the Earth's past, present, and future. This is the way I want all my children to write their answers. Formal language, using all the keywords and presenting your orders in proper sequence, right? This is how you will get full marks in English. Why was the academic Sholaski headed to Antarctica? Now, the vessel was headed to Antarctica as part of the Students on Ice program, which had organized the educational tour for students since they are the future policy makers. This is an important point that you can include in this answer. That, how did they select these students? The aim was to sensitize them to environmental issues and tap into their idealism to save the world, right? So this is how you frame your answers. I'm giving you so much so that you get a perfect idea. Thereafter, if you look at this book, you can practice much more. Let's look at some 3-mark questions. Students on Ice is a program that prepares global citizens. Now, this is a 3-mark questions where you will be expected to write 100 to 120 words kind of length. Students on Ice is a program started by Canadian oceanographer Geoff Green to prepare global citizens by exposing them to the impact of global warming on the planet. The aim is to ensure that they will be armed with knowledge about environmental issues and will work to protect the planet by being the leaders of Gen Next and future policy makers, since many of them have the idealism to save the world, right? So this is how, if you look at the question, it says, how does it prepare global citizens? So you see how I have, directly attacked the question. The world's geological history is trapped in Antarctica. In what way is the study of Antarctica useful to us? None of these questions you can answer if you just listen to a summary on a YouTube channel. Trust me, you won't. You will need to understand every nuance and every aspect of this particular chapter. Then the quality of your answer will be increasing manifold. Antarctica was once a center of a huge landmass. See, my channel, I'm very clear, is not for students who are aspiring for 60%, 70% or just pass. My channel is for students who are aspiring for a 98, 99% marks in English. I'm very clear on that. Antarctica was once the center of a huge landmass, and each one of you can actually do it. Don't think, जिनके 99 आते हैं उनके सर पे तीर सींग लगे हैं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता है, right? Each one of you can do it. It's only about your approach to study, right? Antarctica was once, writing skills, there's a separate playlist. Please have a look at it. Antarctica was once the center of a huge landmass called Gondwana, a giant southern supercontinent. So you have introduced Gondwana. It existed 650 million years ago and survived for 500 million years. At that time, the weather was warm and many species of flora and fauna were existing there. Around the time when the age of mammals came into existence and dinosaurs were wiped away, the landmass disintegrated and India broke away and pushed against Asia and created the mighty Himalayas. South America drifted away to join North America. Hence, it is believed that Antarctica, the record keeper of the Earth, holds the key to the world's geological history. It helps us to understand the significance of the Cordilleran folds and Precambrian granite shields, ozone, carbon, and the process of evolution and extinction. Very important that you use all these details in your answer. This particular answer I've deliberately written a little more because this could also come as a 4-mark question in which you will need to write about 150 odd words. Take care of the small things and the big things will take care of themselves. As I said, important statement. Explain the relevance of this statement. Now, phytoplankton are microscopic single-cell plants that synthesize. So you need to first explain what do they actually do. They nourish and sustain the entire Southern Ocean's food chain. Very important point. And scientists believe that any further depletion of the ozone layer will adversely affect phytoplankton, disrupting the food chain. So this point becomes very important. And you talk about endangering the lives of marine animals, birds of the region, and the entire carbon cycle. So if we take care of the small microscopic phytoplankton, everything else will take care of itself. Why was the Students on Ice program a success? The program was a success because it exposed the young high school students to the risk the Antarctica faced and made them understand and respect the planet. You also bring out the fact that they are the future generation of policy makers who have idealism in them, experience a life-changing experience at an age when they could absorb and learn and act. And instead of being armchair readers and activists, by being there. Now this, you see, in this particular question, you have been asked about, why was it a success? So you need to kind of, give a very macro and a micro view. So instead of being armchair readers and activists, by being there, they could no longer afford to be blind to the reality. Now they have seen and experienced it, so they would know what exactly is the situation, and it made them realize the real threat of global warming. Okay, with this, I come to the end of this 40 marks test paper on journey to the end of the earth. I hope this has been of use to you. Please go through the explanation video again in case if you have any doubts, and invest in one of these books so that your preparation for English or any of the other subjects is absolutely top class. Okay, tata, bye bye, thank you very much. I'll meet you in yet another test paper video very soon.